Hello, Rebecca here with Standing Bear Healing, talking with you again about all things related to severe trauma and how we recover from it, how we support one another, how we get through it onto the best life that we never even imagined, right? So I tell people that back when I first started this healing journey, and my memories of trauma were repressed until I was 31, and so when they came out, I was an absolute basket case. I was a mess. And over time, I have healed and healed and healed. And initially, I wanted to heal, of course, to stop the pain, right? The suffering and the misery that I was living in every moment. But also, I always, from day one of remembering, my my intention was to be able to help other people, because honestly what I went through was so horrific that to just heal for just myself, it really didn't feel worth it. you know at that time it didn't feel worth it, and now it's just this burning desire within me to share anything that I have within me that could be of help to others. All right. And so now I've been a healer professionally for over 10 years. And so that's the gift I'm giving to the world. And um, I've been guided to give this gift to the world. And that's what I'm doing. Um, following following the calling of my heart and soul, of my ancestors, of it's like before I was born and when I chose to take this journey, I felt the call of the souls that would be incarnating along with me and that would be going through similar levels of trauma. And I wanted to make a difference, to be of help, and to bring us all out of the darkness and into the light. And so that's my intention here. And today's topic that I was guided to by one of my viewers who wrote a comment, I want to thank you so much, is the topic of flashbacks. And that probably wouldn't have come up for me for a while because it's been quite a while since I had a new flashback. It's been many years since I first remembered my abuse. But in those early days, the flashbacks started coming, the memories started coming, and then it's like dominoes. It was like Pandora's box had been opened. There was no stopping what was coming next, and every memory was worse than the one before, and um, it was extremely painful period of time in my life. And I'm going to try to share with you some of the things that helped me, or even in retrospect that I wish I had done, in the hopes that I can make this process easier for you. Because believe me, my heart goes out to you if you're having memories of terrible things that happened to you. That I know sometimes it feels like you can't live through it. I do. I know that very, very well. But I just want to encourage you because I believe any of us can. If I did, if many others did that I know of, you can hold on to that. Hold on to that and know that you can get through this. And so, or maybe you actually are watching this because you have a loved one is going through flashbacks and you want to find a way to be supportive of him or her. And if that's the case, I want to say that just thank you from the bottom of our hearts that that you care enough about someone to want to be a safe and supportive person in their life. That's one of the things that is absolutely invaluable, and that I actually didn't really have in the early stages of my memories coming back. But I was fortunate enough to find a really good therapist that had experience in the specific type of trauma I went through, which was not just sexual abuse, but also the satanic ritual abuse. And she had a great deal of expertise in that genre. So that was extremely, I mean, I think she actually saved my life. I don't know how I would have gotten through those early, well, actually I saw her regularly for like 12 years. Um, and kind of like went to the end of what talk therapy could do for me, and at least at that time, and then was ready to do other types of healing, like spiritual work, energy work, body work, beginning to kind of bring back together the disparate parts of myself that I just got, severe trauma, you just sort of get to survive, it's a brilliant technique, actually. We divide ourselves up. And so for most of my life until I started healing, I felt like I really was separate from the waist up and the waist down. So in other words, I could be sexual with a partner, but it had nothing to do with my heart. Like, my heart was just, unbeknownst to me, it was just completely walled off and shut down. So didn't mean that I didn't have the ability to love, but for me, I had been sexualized since I was 2 years old. And so um, connecting intimacy with physical intimacy with love and emotion was just not something I was capable of doing at that time. And so when flashbacks come in, so um, that can actually be the hardest part of this journey, because even though I think for most of us we felt that something was wrong even before we knew, we could feel it. We could sense that we weren't like other people, and we didn't respond to life like other people, and we didn't fit in with other people the way others could, right? So that was certainly my experience. And then when the flashbacks started coming, I felt like untethered, just adrift and unsafe and terrified. It would physically hurt. I remember waking up from nightmares and literally, the sweet man I was dating at the time, I was trying to write down this nightmare because it was just long and involved and I felt like it had a lot of good information for me to use in my healing work on myself. And so I was in the middle of the night, I'm trying to write it down, and he came out and he was very compassionate, and he just like knelt down beside me and like reached out and touched my arm or something. And I just jumped because I was so raw at that point. It literally felt physically painful. And I describe it this way sometimes. It's like all of your nerve endings are on the outside. So the slightest touch is just like excruciating. And, even at the same time that you long for love and comfort and safety, it's like you just physically can't do it, or emotionally, I don't know. And so I want to say that it's very possible to get through the flashbacks. Um, I'm extremely, extremely compassionate that if you are going through that, I know what a horrible stage of life that is, and it can just seem like your heart breaks a million times over, because sometimes it's remembering things from people that you felt loved you and that you needed to survive, people you trusted. Um, that's probably a topic for another whole video, is trust, but um, it's a very difficult phase, and I want to acknowledge that. But I want to tell you, here are some of the things I would say to you now, as you're going through that phase. Number one, and I keep saying this, and I know it may not make any sense, but try to take good care of yourself, physically and emotionally. You may not feel like it, but try to drink water, to eat nourishing food, to all the things you know to do, get rest and all of that sort of thing. Try to get whatever emotional support works for you. If you have friends, you can ask some that are closest to you, would you be willing to be on my short list of people that I can reach out to if I just need to hear a friendly, supportive voice, if I need a hug, or if you're even willing to hear what I'm remembering. And ask some people, if you have some in your life that might be willing to do that. And another thing that helped me a lot at the beginning, because I didn't have friends at the beginning, was books on the subject. So I tried to familiarize myself with this whole topic of healing from sexual abuse and from satanic ritual abuse, and to apply what I could. And sometimes it was just the validation of seeing my symptoms and struggles in the pages of a printed book. So if books help you, I would recommend that. I also did a great deal of journaling. I still do. And uh, so journal if you can, either in on your computer or in a written journal. And if you can find a therapist, highly recommend that, especially in the early stages, just to have someone to go to where you can share everything with, right? Hopefully you can find that type of therapist where you can share everything, as I did. And um, I know money is often a major issue, as it certainly was for me when I first remembered. It was very much hand to mouth, and um, these days I know that there are more programs for people who are financially struggling, and one day I would like to create a foundation myself that will allow people such as ourselves to get the healing work that they need if they're unable to afford it out of pocket themselves, or they don't have insurance that covers it. So now that's another whole topic, is a society that is not at all built around supporting people's emotional healing and emotional traumas. But so that's what things like this format, where all over social media, hopefully you can find other healers as well, and people who've been through similar things that will share with you what they've learned, how they got through it. And so with that, that's a little longer than I typically like to spend on the talking portion, because now I would like to do some of my healing work for you, for all of us. And this is a closed eye process. And so if you're multitasking or you can't close your eyes right now, I would suggest that you pause it at this point until you can. And I try to keep the healing part brief as well, so that you don't have to take a great deal of time out of your day, but that you can just get a boost on the type of topic that whatever it is that I'm called to do on any particular